cool, let's go look at it, right?
Yeah.
And it turned into, hey, let's do a lot more prep at on the phone, and then once we know they're ready to kind of sign or to actually review the contract, um, then let's set the appointment to go look at it. Um, and then we were also reluctant on using virtual assistants, believe it or not.
Mm,
In the
okay.
beginning, we had in-house cold callers, so we didn't
Oh,
hire.
in
Yeah,
Florida. Okay.
yeah, in the office. Yep. So
Wow.
we had inside sales basically, and
Uh-huh.
we just dialed from the office, and then we got two people doing cold calling from the office, and then we kept hearing people were just crushing with VAs, so we're like, let's just try one. And
Yeah.
so what we did was we made the in-house person a manager,
Mm,
and they would oversee the virtual assistants, and that's kind of what gave us the ability to trust that it was happening the right way, right? Because we also had somebody overseeing it.
mhm.
Um, and obviously, once we saw the numbers and the costs, we were like, okay, let's go all in.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been the evolution is just, hey, we hear about something, we try it out for a little bit. If it makes sense, um, we keep doing it.
Yeah. So that's around 2018 when you start cold calling, but you're still kind of doing a hybrid model. You're giving them a range on the negotiating range, and then you're going to the house to get the
Yes,
final signature.
correct, correct,
Okay.
correct. Yeah. And it wasn't
What?
until I would say we truly started scaling, because that I would say kind of scaling forced us to also
Mm,
do that, right? Because once you have a lot more leads coming in, you figure out, okay, if I set up 20 appointments this week, right? How can I become more effective? And
mm,
so as we started hiring more acquisition managers, it made sense to try to close more over the phone.
yeah.
And so when it was just me, I was kind of still, because I feel like there's always a challenge of like doing things one way and then trying to
Mhm.
switch it up. You still kind of always go back to the way you knew, versus the
Yeah.
new acquisitionists, the new negotiators, they never went to the appointments, right? They never went to the
Mhm.
field. So for them, it was just normal. And so
Yeah.
it's just kind of evolved from that. And then now it's like, holy crap, you're actually going to the house? Like, why are you going? Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like, is it that good of a deal that we need to go to the house?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say our mindset behind truly scaling big
Mhm.
forced us to go in a virtual fashion, right?
Yeah.
Because even in mainly we were just operating in Jacksonville, and we still just, only one person in the office left the office. Everybody else, all the acquisitions, dispo, everybody was in the office just doing what they had to do.
Yeah. So this is around 2018, you kind of transitioned to this. And like what point is the business at this point? Like how many transactions are you guys doing a year?
It's a good question. So I would say in 2017, probably wrapped the year up, I would say like 20 to 25 deals. So we did
Mm,
decent in the beginning, just because, Dom had a ton of business and sales experience, and I had a ton of real estate relationships.
mhm,
But like my first in 2017, I was also the vice president of the RIA. So I had
mm,
been super involved in the community. I was crushing sales for that company already.
mhm.
And my job was to sell the houses. So now it's just the only thing I needed
Right.
to add was me doing my own acquisitions. And because I did Dispo for almost 2 years, it was like, this is a no brainer. I already know the guys. I've already done this, so I know what I can perform on. Um,
Yeah.
so I would say 2017, 2018, I think we did about 100,
Whoa.
deals, 120
Wow.
deals in 2018. Yeah. Yeah. We
Wow.
were we were big on reinvesting, right? So that's one thing that I
Mm,
would say that also helped Dom and I align is, hey, we're both willing to eat crap for the next year to 2 years so that we
mhm.
can take majority of our profits and just put it back into the team, hire more people, get more cold callers, get more deal flow and stuff like
Yeah. What
that.
do you think allowed
Yeah,
you to make that transition, from two of you just kind of grinding, right, to doing 100, 120 deals the next year? If you could pick, one or two things, what were the biggest things
it
you
was
implemented?
hiring people. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would say by February, so like by February, we had there was three additional employees, as far as me, Dom, my wife, his wife, and then three other people.
Okay.
So that really, I would say, is hiring people.
Yeah.
Staffing up was the name of the game. So most people are scared to hire people because of the cost of doing it and the commitment of, holy crap, if I'm going to bring on this cost, then I need
Hmm.
to be ready to pay this for every single week. You got to make payroll. So how much
Yeah.
money do I have? So because we both agreed to, and when I say eat crap, I really do mean eat crap. So
Hmm.
I was, 20 or 21 at the time, and my
Hmm.
wife was doing dispo, so she had base plus bonus, so she was crushing it. So she just paid majority of our bills. I barely took out any distributions in probably the first
Hmm.
2 years, and Dom
Okay.
was selling majority. Dom was selling all of his rentals, so he also barely took out any money the first 2 years. So all the money
Wow.
that we were making, we were just like, hey, let's get a nice office, let's get new computers, let's get new phones, let's get new everything. Let's staff up, let's get more people, let's hire more
Yeah.
cold callers, let's put more, just everything was, that was our mind. It wasn't really like, how can we wholesale more deals, me and him? It was more, how can we hire more people to wholesale deals for us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were those hires, were they all on the acquisition side or?
Two were, like I said, our first hires were um, my wife Dispo and Dom's wife as like admin, and then we
Yeah.
hired field, right? Because I
Okay.
was I was not going into the field anymore.
Yeah.
Once we started hiring more people, it was just, hey, I'm going to do sales,
Mhm.
send my guy out, and if I need to close a deal, that's when I go out.
Yeah.
So we hired field, and then we hired like another kind of more back office admin hybrid of,
Mhm.
I would say, like not really back office, more of like tech, Excel, Podio, system stuff.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, somebody that was handling all of that.
Yeah.
So um, that was kind of like the team in the beginning. It was mainly, how can I talk to more people and go out in the field more, or get more
Right.
contracts. And
Yeah.
then we hired Dispo. We had like, so we had like Dispo and then junior Dispo.
Mhm.
Um, Roles have changed. So we had an underwriter, right? So like, because we
Mhm.
do live transfers now. So like the VAs, they do cold calling, live transfer right into the office. So before we didn't do live transfers, they would get a lead sheet. And so we had an underwriter get that lead sheet because we were just reinvesting in the company, trying to see how can we make this assembly line, right?
Yeah.
And over time, like we spend a lot of money doing shit the wrong way, but it is what it
Sure.
is.
Yeah.
It But we also spend a lot of money doing it the right way, right? Figuring out how to do it the right way. So, and we're still always changing, right?
Mhm.
But so we had an underwriter position, and what they would do is they would get the lead, they would run comps on the house, they'd put the lowest comps, they'd put an ARV and an offer range, so that by the time I got to the acquisition manager, they had all the details. What we realized over time is that slows down the process so much,
Mhm. Yeah.
and if you're getting a lead, the name of the game is talking to that lead as soon as possible. Like, and I
Yeah.
mean within minutes, right? And that's why we do live transfers, right? Like if a VA gets cold call someone and they say, "Yeah, I do want to sell my house. Okay, give me a little bit of information." Awesome. Do you have a quick minute to hold? My partner just got off the phone and I think he's really going to like this one. Let me get you over to him. 1 second. Put them on hold, immediately connect them over. And then the acquisition manager just takes it over from there.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
that way
that's
we're able to get to the lead as soon as possible because people change their mind. People
yeah.
don't answer the phone, right? You got them on the phone once. Good luck trying to get them on the phone again. Sometimes people take our offers and sign the contracts, and we still can't get them on the phone. You're like, yo, what's going on? Like, you
Yeah.
already signed, and now you still don't answer.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah,
So, 2018, you guys do 120 deals. You really like kind of tighten up the systems, obviously make
yep.
some mistakes along the way, but also do a lot of things right. What does your next year look like? What does 2019, 2020 look like?
So 2019, I think we did like 180 deals um, in 2019, and then 2020 we did uh, probably like two a little low 200s. I should probably know these answers, but I'm just going
Sure.
off of what I recollect. I know that in
Yeah.
2021 we did 308 deals on our wholesale side, um, and this year to date, we've done 278 deals.
Okay.
We're doing 2021, we wrapped the year up at 3.9 mil in revenue. This
Yeah.
year, we're at 3.9 also year to date. We'll probably wrap
Okay.
the year up at like 4.4. We
Yeah.
have about 400 in escrow right now. One of those closed today. Closed
Yeah.
two houses today, actually.
Nice. So you guys so actually that's an interesting thing we can talk about. So last year you did more deals, but this year you brought in more revenue.
Yeah.
How do you account for like being able like what change to allow you to juice your revenue between
Yeah.
those
So I would say that the two biggest things is number one is hedge funds,
two?
right? So in 2021 and 2022, majority of our business was trying to sell to hedge funds. And so that allowed us to sell properties for more
Hmm.
than your average deal. And then number two is focusing on acquisition talent.
Hmm.
So um, I will confidently say that I don't want to brag or whatever. And obviously everybody's biased, but like we I have we have the best closers on our team like ever. And like I've gone to so many programs, so many trainings in people's offices and stuff like that and just like um yeah, my guys are just sharks and we focused on getting um how can I say this in the best way? Like people who only care about getting the deal as low as possible, no matter what. That's like
Hmm.
the culture that we've breeded here in acquisitions, right?
Yeah.
As far as the sales guys,
Yeah.
it's the true Wolf of Wall Street sales floor.
Hmm.
I'm going to get this house for cheaper than anybody here on the sales floor could get it. Because I want to brag to everybody here, like, yo, I got this house this low.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So as far as renegotiations, because right now, I mean, the name of the game for us has been renegotiations, right?
Sure. Yeah. The
And
market's changing.
so that also that I don't want to say that we are not uh, sympathetic towards people, but like just having that mentality of like, all right, I had a property at one under contract at 180. The market
Yep.
totally shifted, and the hedge
Hmm.
funds completely disappeared. So my best offer now on that house has to go to a flipper or a landlord. My best offer is 160 now, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I have two options. I can just go cancel that contract or I can try to get it for under 150.
Yep.
and make the deal work. And so that's all. I mean, majority of the deals have been like that, right? In the past I would say month to 2 months.
Yep.
Um, and so that mentality of I have to I busted my butt trying to get this for 200 grand and or for 180, and now I have to get it
Yeah.
for 30 grand cheaper. This person's going to tell me to F off. This person's going to, like I'm embarrassed making this call. So I'm not even
Yeah.
going to try to renegotiate it, or I'm, whatever. Like I just feel guilty. So I'm just going to let them go.
Mm.
And we don't care. Like if our best offer is 60 grand under what we have it under contract, we're going to do what we have to do to get that sale done. I rather give you the opportunity with a number that you would take than to
Yeah.
just cancel and just bail on you.
Sure.
And it's
Yeah.
just, hey, times have changed. And there's even situations now which we've experienced with certain hedge funds that, like, if you don't get them an answer soon enough, their numbers will change and they're
Mm.
not going up, right? And so
Sure.
we've had situations where we will get a property under contract, they'll make
Yep.
us an offer. That offer is lower than what we have it for, so we have to renegotiate it. And once we renegotiate it, then we can take their offer. And sometimes renegotiations don't happen very quickly, right? And so you're working it, you got to get them on the phone, maybe they don't answer, whatever. So 4 days goes by, you're like, hey, all right, we got the number, you hit them back up, hey, we're good. Hey,
Oh,
cap rates changed again, we're 15 grand lower, and you're like, crap. And so in those situations, what would somebody typically do? It's, dude, I just got to cancel this contract. I'm not going to renegotiate this guy a third time, right? It's like,
yeah.
no, my acquisitions guy will not let me just let him cancel a deal. I was like,
Mm.
yeah, we don't have a buyer for this. Like, we just got to cancel. Is there a number? No, there's no number. No, there's no buyer. He's like, no, there is a number. Like, if
There
I
is a
if
number.
I offered if I got it for 50 grand, would you buy it? I'm like, all right, if you got it for 50 grand, I'd probably buy it. And he'd be like, all right,
Yeah.
so would we pay 70? And I'm like, we probably would pay 70, right? But meanwhile, we have it for like 120, right?
Sounds like he's negotiating with
And
you.
oh, dude, he's a freaking stud, and it just rubs off, right? So
Yeah.
he's our sales manager, and uh, it just rubs off right on everybody. It's like, holy crap, like this guy is fearless, and he's,
Yeah.
what I mean. If the numbers change again, what we're going to cancel again, let's let them know what we can do. You just got to be
Yeah.
straight up with them. Hey, listen, the market's changing daily, and I'm not
Yeah.
lying, right? The market is changing daily. You never know. A new announcement happens this Wednesday. The Feds got together on Thursday. Friday, everything changed, right? So
Yep.
everything that happened between Wednesday and Thursday is now totally different.
Yeah.
So um, that those are the conversations that we've been having with people, and that fearless mentality of, and I wouldn't even say call it fearless. It's just like getting that emotion out of your mind on, like, you never know what anybody's going through. Like some people would wish that you'd rather give them a number that it is going to get it done than
Yeah.
to just you bail on them, right? It's like, well,
Right.
dude, you should have just told me you just needed it 20 grand cheaper. Like I have no option. I would have taken it, right?
Yeah. They can
And
always
some
say
people,
no.
like,
They
right,
can
they
say
can
no.
always say no, but some people associate that to themselves instead of the
Sure.
situation, right? So they're like, oh,
Yeah.
that makes me a liar. That makes me going back on my word that I can't do that. So I'm just not going to try to renegotiate or do whatever. But it's just like, hey, you're only helping yourself. You're not helping the seller, right? Because if you're helping the seller, it's like, hey, I can cancel, or I can still perform, but I need a 30 grand under. And
Yeah.
trust me, I know it sucks. I hate myself for even doing this, but I just wanted to at least present you the opportunity because I know I
Yeah.
can get it done at that number, right? Um, and so I would say that really that is the biggest
Mhm.
thing that has doubled our spreads, tripled our spreads. I mean, we were just looking at the numbers right last year because our transaction coordination managers looking at the
Yeah.
numbers because we're getting close to the end of the year. So um, she's like, "Oh, look at what we did last year and compared to this year and stuff like that. Like this is the deals." And last year our biggest spread was 50 grand, and those were not common, right? And
Yeah.
2022, because of hedge funds and our acquisition skill, 40, 50K spreads were becoming a norm, right? And it was like, oh, we're only making 18 on it? Dang, okay. And then
Yeah.
now it's like, holy shit, we're making four? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Just everything's totally changed, right?
So back
So
to that, the sales guys, right? Now, is that something that you're hiring for, or is that a culture that you're building, or is it both?
it's both.
Okay.
So we made it a thing. So it has its pros and cons, right? Because
Sure.
when we hire elite closers,
Hmm.
um, they if they don't come from the real estate world or like the type of people that we feel are elite closers, they're typically used to a decent salary, right? So we
Okay.
were paying we're paying our well, we were paying our acquisitions because now we're trying to shift to potentially commission based, right? Like
Okay.
everything is totally different now. Like in the
Yeah.
past three or yeah, in the past 3 months, we went from 28 people to 9 people.
Wow.
So that obviously didn't happen overnight, but we had to make a lot of cuts, and
Yeah.
the reason for that was just we saw the market was changing and the situation was changing quicker than we could control how quickly we were spending money,
Yeah.
right? Because the market totally changed, and we the rate that our hedge funds turned off that we were buying, right? That speed of when
Hmm.
they went from 1 week saying, hey, we're going to start needing this, 10-15% cheaper, to the
Yeah.
next week, hey, now we need this 20% cheaper. And then,
Yeah.
hey, the next week, now we're turned off, right? It's like in that speed, we had two options was just like, hey, we keep floating this thing and hope that repivoting our marketing and changing our buyers again and changing our acquisitions approach, all this, it's like, hey, when you're spending 150 grand a month, 200 grand a month, because we it costs a lot of money if you want to make over 4 mil a year. You need to spend a lot of money to make 4 mil a year, right?
Yeah.
So we just saw all that happening super quickly, so we didn't want to even get close to the risk of, holy shit, we're out of money and we can't pay our people, right? Because of being hopeful. And I had to get on the phone with a lot of mentors, a lot of people that have experienced this in the past, right?
Hmm.
And they majority vocalized the same thing, which was, I should have pivoted sooner, right? Like I
Hmm.
held on to what I had, and because of that, I either lost everything or went bankrupt, right? It was just like those were like the commonalities of all the people that had, built it back up. Because once you know how to do it, I mean, you can come back, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And they came back, but during that 08 to 11 time, like it was very similar. Everybody just stopped buying, right? And
Yeah.
so everybody was just like, okay, we're gonna wait to see how things go. But
Yeah.
when you've tried to rise to the top, you don't realize how much money you're spending because you see the money coming, right? So you don't really start to equate how much it is because you're just like, hey, I want to keep growing, I want to keep hiring more, I want to keep doing more deals. So you're constantly spending because you see more coming in,
Hmm.
and then the spend is a commitment, the money
Yeah.
coming in is not, right? At any time those deals can fall through, those contracts fall through, sellers change their mind, hey, we're doing an
Sure.
80K deal, now seller changed their mind. So it's either
Yeah.
we sue them or we figure out how to make the deal go through. Boom, offer them 40K more, and now they want to sell again, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, that 80K deal just turned a 40K deal, and that 50K deal, because the title issues just disappeared and or
Yeah.
whatever, right? So when you commit to paying W-2s, that
Hmm.
that doesn't change your monthly spend,
Yeah.
and so we just had to make some tough decisions, man, and it sucks because I mean, we still have a great squad, right? But we
Yeah.
had a lot of great people that hopefully once things turn back around, we can bring them back. Um, and as we realign with the times changing and really figure out what's happening, we didn't
Yeah.
want to keep bleeding money, right?
Sure.
Um, and so, yeah, so everything is totally different now, right?
Yeah.
As far as the buyers, the hedge funds that we're selling to, are targeting on acquisitions and the list that we're pulling and targeting for motivation, right? Like 6 months ago, I didn't care about motivation. I was like, hey, do you have a pulse and do you have 15% equity? All right, I'm calling you, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like I can only talk to people that are going to take low offers, right? Because
Yep.
that's the only guarantee that I can exit. Before I had different other exits. Now those
Yeah.
exits are gone. And so we're
Yeah.
back to the basics, stacking lists, targeting high equity and motivation, right?
Yep.
Um, and um, going back to the basics of wholesaling.
Yeah. So, how many acquisitions guys are you guys at currently of the nine that you currently have?
So right now, Dom is kind of a hybrid. So Dom's back on the phones, acquisitions.
Way.
Hayden is a Hayden is a hybrid, doing phones and hybrid of joint ventures because we still JV with people. And Hayden kind of runs that, but as that has also dried up, we're putting him on the phones because right now is the time of the it's the time to get our best people on the phones, right?
Mm,
And so that's basically what we had to decide, right? It was just like, if we can only do X amount of deals, or we have to prepare to only do X amount of deals, like I can't lie to myself and say, hey, we're going to do, 300 deals, or we're going to monthly be on pace to do 300 deals all the time, right?
yeah.
Not right now, right? And so it's like, hey, if my deal size is going to immediately decrease, then I only want my sharks on the phone. And so it's
Yeah.
Dom, Hayden, and TJ, three on acquisitions.
Yep.
Dispo is me and Will,
Yep.
Will Whitley. And then we have one transaction coordinator. And then we have one, I guess, like business admin, business systemizing, Podio, Zapier guy, Excel spreadsheet guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So that's the squad for now, and then we have four VAs,
Wow. So, and that's those are cold callers, those four VAs, or
cold
those are
callers. Yep,
cold callers.
yep,
Wow.
cold callers.
So you guys really
Yep.
cut down the number of cold callers. I think you guys were at 20 something at one point.
Yeah, we were at like 23, 22, 23 VAs, maybe a little bit
Yeah.
more. Um, yeah, yeah. So again, you're always constantly growing, and we were constantly trying to grow, right? And so we were like, hey, let's hire more VAs, let's hire more people. And when we started feeling this shift in like August, our answer was like, let's hire more and get more numbers, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, so if it's going to take us more offers to get to a deal, then we need
Sure.
to hire more people, right? So that
Yep.
we can get more offers into the deal. And so that kept, that's what we kept doing until it kept getting worse and worse, right? Like there was like our answer to, we should have seen like, okay, interest rates changed, like, and people are starting, mainly the hedge funds were a good sign of what was to come, right? Because in
Yeah.
August they already started to get weird, right?
Yeah.
Some of them stopped buying for a week to reevaluate, pause.
Mm,
They would pause for a week, come back for 3 days. Hey, don't submit anything today. We're doing meetings. Okay, hey, we're back on, but our cap rates changed.
yeah.
Stuff like that. And
Yep.
so what the way that we saw was like, hey, let's just bring offers lower. So let's just
Yep.
lower our acquisitions number. That'll make it work. So that's how we kind of tried to navigate through that, right? And so we spent, a lot of time trying to navigate with the times and okay, if we can only get this amount of contracts, how many of those typically sell?
Mm,
What does that cost us? What revenue do we see bringing in from that? Okay, let's try it. Okay, a month happened. Okay, the hedge funds again changed their buy boxes. Now they're not taking this, so now we're going to have to pivot here. So it's just like, okay, we keep testing things and nothing is happening because every time we would create a new criteria for acquisitions to make offers or whatever, a week later it would change. And then
right.
3 weeks later it would change. And then they were backing out of contracts that, they typically never backed out of contracts, right? And they were like backing out of contracts. We're like, what the heck is going on? Um, So yeah, man, it's been a fun October, November,
Wow.
but I think this is like, when you want to grow a big business, and you have a lot of liability, you you feel it a lot more than people who don't have a lot of liability, right? Because they if you have uh, two deals going on and you lose 50%, now you have one deal. But if you have 30 deals going on and you lose 50%, now you have 15 deals. It's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And so we got hit, and we also want to be smart about it and
Mm,
figure out, okay, this is a changing time in a different market, and it is going to be completely different than, or it might not be, right? But if it is going to be completely different than what we just experienced, then we might want to rebuild better, different, figure out what did work, what we liked, what we didn't like. Do we want to continue this? Do we want to not continue that? Like, this is the time that we're taking for that while the world is crazy. Because
yeah.
when you're doing a ton of deals and everybody's buying, like, you don't have time to evaluate what's really working in my business, what's not. Should we really do this? Should we not? So it doesn't matter. It's like, hey, we made 50 grand this month. If I would have been more careful with expenses, we probably would have made like 80 grand, but it doesn't matter because we made 50 grand. So who cares about spending that extra 30? Because we made
Yeah.
50, right? So let's just keep going,
Keep
right?
slinging. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're taking that time while everybody's kind of figuring it out. We're like, hey, this is the time for us to, let's keep the core. Let's reduce the team size to stay relevant and keep crushing it. Because with this team, I mean, this team of seven, like, we're still going to crush it. Um, and just build back smarter, better, more efficient. Um, and we got into some flips. I would say it's a hell of a time to get into flips, but that opened up our eyes to flips, right? And like,
Yeah.
we were always big on, we want to wholesale because it's the quickest dollar, right? But after you get to a certain point, in order to do more revenue, it's almost easier after a certain amount of wholesale.
Yeah.
It was either we do more in our market or try to expand into other markets. And with hedge funds, it made that easy to expand into other markets. But as hedge funds pulled away, we got
Mm,
into flips. I will say our flips weren't ideal as far as the margins that we thought we were going to make and stuff like that, mainly because we started buying flips in August and September. So all of our flips went on the market October, November.
yeah.
Um, so it was an awesome time. But I will say that I'm super grateful for it because it opened up our minds on like how easy it was to raise money for them, right? Like, we raised private money for them. We raised like 2 million bucks, like nothing. And you can't do that for wholesaling, right? You can't be like, hey, I'm gonna go wholesale some houses. Let me raise $1 million, right? Like, no one's gonna give you $1 million to go um, wholesale. But if you say, I'm gonna go flip, people will fund that because it's backed by the house, right? And
Yeah.
so it was super easy to get money. And then because of who we are now in the market, it was super easy to get, or well, we learned how to get good contractors, reliable contractors.
Yeah.
Um, and through these little bit of flips that we've done, we quickly identified, okay, this is how to not flip because we sucked at a bunch of crap.
Yep.
But what we didn't take into account was buying from other wholesalers. So majority of all the flips that we bought were from other wholesalers, because it
Yeah.
was like, hey, when I get a deal and I get a good deal, it's very tempting to not just pick up the phone and like make a quick 15, right? It's like, yeah, I could make 45, but it's like, if things happen or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, let me just pick up the phone, make 10 to 15 and call it a day.
Yeah.
But when a wholesaler sends me the deal, it's hard for me to just pick up the phone and make a quick 10 to 15. The only way that deal makes sense is if you buy it, renovate it, do the sweat equity. And so, yeah, all the flips that we got were from other wholesalers. And it was awesome because like we were JVing. So instead of JVing, like, dude, we'll just buy it. You just make the whole fee.
Yeah.
And a lot of flips, the wholesalers we bought it from made more than we did, but it's awesome, right? It's good. It's
Whatever.
good.
Yeah.
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 um, But I will say that that
Interesting.
opened up our eyes to flips, the potential of it, how
Mhm.
how easy it was to overcome the challenges. right?
Yeah.
Because there are challenges with flipping, but it's just like, okay, these are just things that we can overcome.
Yep.
And we're not big on like we could hire a realtor, right? Let's just hire a realtor. Let's hire like let's just get the deals really deeply discounted so we can just pay the best people out there to do it. So that
Yeah.
way we don't have to worry about, oh, this contract didn't show up or this, but like luckily we didn't really have issues
Yeah.
like that because in the beginning when we tried to cheap out, I mean, we were part of that group that lost money to Steve Ford.
Oh, you were? I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. So like, we are just trying like these guys were more expensive or whatever. Like, yeah, we can figure it out ourselves, and ended up
Yeah.
losing money that way. Um, so I will say Flips has me a little bit more excited about. I'm not right now, right? But
Sure.
once it's coming back, like I'm excited to have a flipping division potentially, right? Just because, and it's not even from my company. It's like, hey, these wholesalers are doing deals, and we
Yeah.
know how to connect with wholesalers better than any flipper would.
Yeah.
So it just, I'm excited for that also. And taking down houses and the
Yeah.
retail department, like figuring out retail sales, like it's just a whole nother ball game that I just think makes me a better investor, makes me a better individual, a better company,
Yeah.
right? Figuring out, hey, we can actually take this down and
Yeah.
either keep it or flip it or whatever. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for how this change is going to pivot our direction of the company. But obviously,
For sure.
100% wholesale first all day, every day,
Yeah.
especially right now, right?
Yeah.
We bought a house to flip, and we don't want to flip right now. So we
Yeah.
bought it and we sold it. We have another house that we bought. We're trying to sell right now without flipping it, because we just don't. It's not our thing. Like right now, we're gonna
Yeah.
stick to what we know, stick to our basics. It's not the time to be testing out new things and trying out new strategies, and you know what I
Yeah.
mean. As far as things that cost money, right? If you're gonna try
Right.
something out, is to make money, and so yeah, like if you're gonna try something out, maybe try some creative stuff or some innovation stuff, right? Kind of how we were talking, um, testing out things like that, as opposed to, hey, let me figure out, and my wholesaling isn't working, so let me go flip. It's like, yeah, that's not the time to do that, right?
Not the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Back to, I'm always fascinated by the sales stuff. So kind of back to, actually, we have a comment here from William Montgomery. Can you expand on the contractor bottlenecks and learning curves you experienced when starting flipping?
yeah. So as far as us for the bottlenecks, it was, um, we tried to get things cheaper than hiring like a general contractor to do the work, right? And so it's like, okay, who do I know that I've met at the Rio or Yellowbird that does flooring? Okay, let me call him. And who do I know that does this? And you know what I mean, stuff like that. So, which if that's your expertise and that's your full time thing, like you should do that. But I'm not gonna. I'm gonna hire a guy, and then I'm probably gonna forget that I hired him, and I'm not gonna follow up with him for a week, and then a week later, my guy's gonna show up at the house and be like, "Yo, the floors never got done." I'm like, "Crap, that was supposed to happen a week ago, right?" So we don't have the structure of, yeah, I can follow up my guys, I can go to Home Depot, I can pick out the things, I can do that. So our thought of trying to go with cheaper contractors and sub everything out ourselves was not good, and we just started hiring better contractors. And then what made us more excited about the doing flips is, which also could have should have been a sign, but like flippers kind of slowed down a little bit, and so we were using the people that the flippers we were selling to were using, and it kind of led to a partnership with a flipper, which is kind of what has me the most excited about. Is like, hey, we can figure out the money and the deals, and then we don't have to figure out how to renovate them or sell them, because he's going to do all that with us. So that's what we're trying to do now. But That was kind of like the bottlenecks with the contractors was trying to do it ourselves, and then we'd kind of meet somebody through a business card, or somebody would post something. We'd call somebody, hey, we got to get an AC done. Can you come meet us at the house? You go to the house, they don't show up, they don't return your calls, and now you lose like uh, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks, like just by not starting on a project, right? Because you're trying to figure this out, and you should have had all that figured out way before closing on the deal. That I would say another thing was because we have like the wholesale machine going, as soon as we'd say, okay, hey, let's buy a house, there's so much prep work that should go into flipping a house. So that way, by the time you're closed on it, you have everything ready to go. We were not like that at all. Like
Mm.
there was houses that we closed on that we didn't have a bid on or a contractor to start on until like 3 weeks after we owned it, right? And it was just like we know it's a good deal, so it's under contract. Move on to get the next one, and it's like, oh crap, now we have this one. Oh crap, that closed. Damn, we've owned it for a week. Shit, we got to do something with it,
Gotta get
right? It's like,
moving.
oh god,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So those were
The
our
speed
challenges
game.
as flipping, right?
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So our solution is partnering up with people, right? So like we listed them ourselves, right? Because we have agents in our team, and like we're not retail agents, right? So we don't know the um, rules and regulations. Like I had no idea, and that, like, and this is gonna sound crazy. I've done over 1,000 wholesale deals. I had no idea that FHA had a regulation on a certain time that you had to own the house before they could buy it, right? So like we didn't those little things like, hey, let's take this offer. All right, cool. We took the offer. A week later, we find out we can't even sell it to this person. What the hell? We just lost a
no
week on the
seasoning, man.
market.
Come
Now
on.
we're correct. And so it's like, all right, we just need to hire a realtor. Like, let's just hire a realtor that does this. Yeah.
Yeah,
So over time, we've learned, which has been a great experience. Um, and like I said, hell of a time to figure this out. But I am grateful because it did open up our eyes on like, hey, we can really flip, and it can be kind of systemized and seamless, and it's not going to take from our wholesale business. Like that was
yeah,
the worry, was it taking from our wholesale business? And because we brought on Hayden, right? Hayden is kind of like his own business inside of our business in a way, right? So like Hayden's like, dude, I'm gonna do these flips, and JVs, and so we kind of worked that out where like Hayden's just buying flips with us and stuff like that, and Hayden's overseeing that. So there's a way for it to happen,
yeah.
and we learned it. So now we know, hey, next deal. Now we know like, do we had a house, we had contractors start working, and they were working for like 3 weeks, and then the contractor's like, hey, so we've been here with our generator, like when are you guys going to turn on the power? And we're like,
Oh,
holy crap, like there's no power. He was like, I just thought you get, like, I was like, oh my god, we never turned on the power.
jeez, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So yeah,
yeah,
yeah, so it was fun.
I know we've only got we got limited time left, but I do really want to, if you have a few more minutes, dive back to on the
Yeah,
sales
definitely.
stuff because I think that that's always particularly interesting to me. So, I know you said it's a culture thing and a hiring thing. So maybe if you could start with the hiring thing, is how are you hiring someone who's this talented at sales, who's really a shark, as you say it, he just goes after it. How do you find that person?
So I would say paying a hefty base
Mm,
what helped us find those people, right? So when you're finding people who are willing to make nothing, those people can only go certain time before making nothing or making very little before they just need to go find a job. And so like our goal was to find executive people and that had sales experience, and then just make them sharks on the phone, right? So people who are like, we looked at it as more of an intellectual kind of thing. Generally, the people who are like smarter and higher IQ are like great closers, because they just get it. They can,
Mm,
and I know that sounds weird, but like they just get it. Like I can go from this question that the seller answered me, and I can think very quickly on how to best answer or rebut this question. Whereas to people who aren't that quick on their feet and super, super smart, that can understand numbers and compare and do numbers on the phone, like, oh, you're paying 6% to the realtor at 250, so you're going to pay this much to the realtor. Like those little things that me and you would probably be able to say on the phone. We found that like we lose most of our deals not to other employees of other wholesalers. We lose our deals to other direct wholesalers,
yeah,
right? And so think about that. Who is the people that we're losing deals to are people like you, right?
yeah,
And so my employee needs to be able to think and sound like you. It's not
mm,
just sales and negotiations. It's they
yeah,
have to have that understanding of, all right, let's get creative. Let's figure this out. Oh, you know about IRAs and the stock market and like like all that stuff is what gets deals closed, not just
mm,
sales and negotiations.
right,
So it was kind of like that mixture of that. And once we found out the more base we pay, the more intellectual of a person we get, we match it with that. So we were paying 40 to 50K base plus commission. Um, that's what got us the best candidates. And it was
mm,
being very selective because when you have no acquisitions, you're like, oh, I'll give this guy a try. When you have
yeah,
four and you're like, I need to add a fifth, I'm going to disqualify 50
yeah,
of them because I want that fifth one, right? So I would say like there's so many nuances into finding these people that it's like, hey, disqualify a lot or qualify a lot, right? That's a better way of saying it, right? So
mhm,
qualify a lot. Our company, the culture and the corporate side of it also allowed us to attract these kind of individuals, right? So when
mm,
they come to work for a wholesale company, most wholesale companies are two dudes in a laptop working from
yeah,
home. So it's like, how am
yeah,
I going to get this established dude who's working at a Fortune 500 company that's going to just risk it all and come work for me, right? When they come
mm,
to my office, right? If someone comes and I give them a tour of my office, they're like, dude, this is a legit company, right?
yeah,
Like, I want to work here. They have health
yeah,
benefits, 401k benefits. Like, dude, this is a legit company. This is like I've always gonna go work at Open Door. I feel like, like this is the
yeah,
next Open Door. I want to. So that all of that is like it's hard to pinpoint the exact
mm.
things, but it's like a mixture of all of that. Um, yeah.
Were you guys doing active recruiting or are you just putting job ads up? Like, were you going out doing the whole LinkedIn outreach to people trying to?
No, we weren't doing active recruiting ourselves. We were doing the job ads posting.
Mm,
I would say a hack with job ad posting is just posting different variations of the same ad,
yeah,
calling it different things, whatever, right? But doing a lot of it. Don't do two, don't do three, don't do five, do 25 of them, right?
mm,
That helped us get a lot of candidates. And then also, we hired recruiters as well. So we'd have both.
okay,
So we hired insurance agency recruiters. So these are people who are recruiting for insurance companies. We hired them for us. Um, and Yeah, but branding is such a big thing for hiring, right? When people look at your job ad and they see the name of your company, the first thing they're doing is they're Googling you.
yep,
And if you don't look like, I don't mean to brag or whatever, but we've spent a lot of money making our company look like a big company, right? And when I
yeah,
say big, I mean like an established, legitimate corporation, right? And so if they see a job ad of this other, investment company, and when they look them up, there's no office, there's no picture of an office. It's like, where am I going to go to work, right? It's like, what? So when they look up our website, we put a lot about our branding and our team and our company and our benefits, and we made videos for all of this, so
yeah,
that the people who are looking at your job ad aren't like, I don't want to go work for them. I want to work for a bigger. I want to, like they're not thinking this, but this is all subconscious, right? And then they see an open door. and then they see a Redfin, and then they
Hmm.
see a Cash Geeks, and they look us all up, and they're like, "Oh, this is a similar kind." I mean, obviously, I'm not going to say we're anywhere near
Sure.
Open Door or whatever, but when you Google us and you go to our website, editing that we do for our videos and stuff like that just looks like a professional company. So, hey, I'm going to
Yeah.
go interview, right? And then you come into
Yeah.
the office and they're like, holy crap, this is like Wolf of Wall Street. I would love to
Yeah.
work here, right? And then they see the game room and they see the, all that. So it's a mixture of all that.
Are you is that a that person who's kind of that shark mentality, is that a certain personality profile? Like I know we use predictive index to hire and we have different profiles we look at for different roles. Do you guys do you do that, and do
We
you find that
do
that
have,
person?
yeah, we do have that. We don't really, so it's funny because we took like our three closers and they're just sharks and all of them have different personalities. And we're like, ah, well, but I should have the, I'll get it to you. I know that we made our guy take the test once, just because we wanted to see. Um,
Yeah. I was just curious if they were maybe
yeah,
all very assertive, right? 'Cause usually those, the A or D on people who know disc, if that's really
right,
high,
right,
they care more about profit, about
right. That's true. That's
relationships,
true.
right? I was just curious
Yes,
if that
yes.
was a tendency you saw.
They're less people. I know this is gonna sound crazy, but they're less people. They're not the
Mm,
nicest people. Yeah, they're not the friendliest, most outgoing people. You go to, and you can see it. Like you can just see it. Like when when they're at a company event or if we go to a restaurant, whatever, like we just kind of hang out by ourselves. We're the elites. We don't like. I don't want to be on camera. Like I know that's yeah. Like that's how these
yeah,
guys are. They're just like, hey, we don't care about anything else but just like get me prospects and let me close.
yeah.
They don't want
And
to.
then,
Hey, we're doing a thing, whatever, right? Like, all right, cool. You guys go do that. We just close deals.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the culture part of that is the second piece you said. How have you ingrained that culture at the company?
It's daily training. Yeah,
Mm,
daily training. So it's daily training and extreme accountability. So the culture is when you come to our team, your numbers are going to be up in front of everyone. So we have TVs displayed around the whole office, and
hmm.
everybody's numbers are up, and we're going to see how many contracts do you have today. And so subconsciously, when we give them the tour of the office, they see what they're signing up for, right?
Yeah,
And we tell them, hey, these are the numbers. So when you join, everybody's going to see your performance, right? And so because of that, it just breeds a certain culture of we're here to win.
yeah,
And if I'm losing, it's not cool to lose, right? It's not cool. Like we didn't create an environment where it's like, oh, we're going to just get by with the bare minimum,
hmm,
right? If you do that, you get let go, right?
yeah,
So it was extreme accountability, and so by everybody seeing the winners and wanting to win, everybody kind of wants to get up on the TV, have the most contracts up, or like it's very competitive. Like they hear because we ring a desk bell every time we get a contract, so they hear the bell. They're like, "Oh, who was that? Oh man, screw that guy. I need to get whatever." Like they get pissed, right? It's like, I don't care. It's like, bro, you're not gonna
yeah.
clap. I don't care about that contract. I'm working on mine. Whatever,
I'm working on
right?
mine.
So yeah, yeah. So it
Yeah,
it, it it's a lot of filtering. Also, like I literally kid you not, like part of the interview was like, "Have you watched the movie Wolf of Wall Street?"
yeah,
Okay. So if you take out the illegal drugs and strippers, we're pretty much like that. We're on the phone
yeah,
all day, every day. We hone in our acquisitions, sales, and negotiation skill every single day with morning training. We listen to calls, and we're all trying to become rich. And that's it.
yeah, yeah.
And if they're like, they'll either not accept the job offer or whatever, right? They won't, a lot of times they won't just say, "Oh, I don't want that," right? But they just won't
Hmm.
take the job offer or whatever, or they'll be like, "Dude, I want that. Like, I love that.
Hmm.
Like, that's what the place that I was at didn't have, right? Or whatever, right? That I see myself getting into or whatever." Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Cool, man. Well, there's always two questions that I like to ask at the end. And the first one, I'm
Yeah.
sure, with the number of transactions you do, you have a great story here. Um, so, what is the craziest or most uncomfortable situation that you've ever experienced with a seller?
So I probably win with this story. But to everybody that you've asked this, but I got bit by a pit bull at a house, showing a
Oh.
house. So I had the seller, I had three buyers, and there was two pit bulls on the porch that were preventing me. They were tied up to the porch. They were preventing me from knocking. And I had three buyers that were on the street because they were scared to get close to the house because there was two mean pit bulls on the porch. And so I couldn't go and knock on the door. So I was like honking the horn for the owner to open the door. He was like asleep. Um, and he finally came to the door. I was like, "Hey, is it okay for me to come in?" Yes, I walk in. I think it was because the owner didn't immediately open the door when we got there. Like we were there for like 5 to 10 minutes trying to get in. Wait, like I was like yelling the guy's name, whatever. His phone was off. He didn't pay his phone bill, so we had to like door knock, but I couldn't door knock because there's two pits. And once he came out, he was like, "Yeah, come in." I came in. The two buyers started walking up, and then boom, he just immediately bit my leg. I had to go get rabies shot. All this,
Oh,
yeah. Renegotiated the deal, and we made like 8 grand on it after everything.
I hope it gave you a discount after almost taking your
Yeah.
leg off. So,
So that was my craziest situation that ever happened at a house. Yeah.
yeah, cool.
And then I've had
And
multiple times where, you have an owner who's showing you the house. The occupants don't really want you there. The owner doesn't care,
sure,
and
yeah.
he's or she is cool with just you getting in the house. Don't mind them, but while you're walking through the house, they're talking mad crap. They're trying to kick you out. They're trying to whatever, and you're just there taking pictures. And the owner's like, "No, you go. You just do your thing." And the people are like, "Don't go in that room." Yes, he's getting in that room, and I'm like, "Oh, do I go in the room or not? What do I do?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Oh
had
man.
multiple dogs um like unleashed at me, right? And luckily nothing happened because they were just friendly, but the people
Yeah.
thought they could scare me away with the dogs. And I like froze. I was like, "Crap, am I about to die?" And luckily the dog didn't kill me. I was with do you know Naweed?
I know his name just from the Facebook groups. I don't think I met him in
Okay,
person.
yeah, yeah. So I was with Naweed at a house once, and the occupant let their dog out and was like, "I'm gonna let my dog out on you." And she walked in the house, and we thought she was just bluffing. Next thing you know, this big dog just comes charging at me and Naweed, and and this was after I got bit by a dog at a house, so I'm like freaking out. Um, and luckily nothing happened, but yeah, so a lot of fun stories
Yeah,
at some houses. Yeah.
for sure, man. And final question. Um, if you could go back in time, back in 2017 when you were first starting, give yourself one piece of advice when you're looking for your first deal, knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself?
Mm. I would say, going back, trying to get my first deal, I would say, I don't want to sound cliche with this, but like it's okay to do it scared, right? So I was always scared, and I always felt like I needed to read one more thing, or give me a little bit of confidence by listening to another podcast. And it's all just mental, right? It's like, okay, I finally read 3 books. Now let me go try it. Where it's like, could have done it based on the first book that I read, right? But I needed to read another two more books and go to another course, get another course to give me that confidence where just it's okay to be scared and just do it anyway, right?
Yeah,
So That's I think what I would say to myself.
I think that's a good piece of advice. I'm pretty sure everyone's nervous on their first deal. You just got to do it.
You know, and it's funny because everybody just always says like, just do it. And it's so hard, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like it's just like it's okay. Like I feel like what people don't say is like it's okay to be scared, and you're
Right.
gonna be scared the whole time, and you're
Yeah.
just doing it scared the whole
Yeah.
time. You're just freaking out, and that's okay, right? Um,
I think that
yeah,
is a better piece of advice actually, because the just do it thing is just doesn't
yeah,
really
yeah. Everybody's just like,
address
just
what's
do it. It's like,
going on.
oh crap, okay, like let me go do it.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's like it's okay to be scared the whole time. You don't know how it's gonna happen, but
Yeah.
you're just doing it, and just like that's just part of it. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, if people want to reach out to you after the show, contact you for anything, JV on deals, maybe sell you guys some flips when you start buying some flips again, how can
Yeah.
we go about doing that?
So I'm best through email. Gonzalo, Gonzalo at cashgeeks, plural, cashgeeks.com. That's the best way to communicate with me. I'm also on Instagram or Facebook. You can message me there as well, but email is the best for me to see it I'm in my email every 30 seconds. So
Cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show. It was awesome.
awesome, man. Thanks for having me, bud.